Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulullah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi al-kiram wa man ittaba ihsanin ila yawmi din amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah ta'ala, I think we have to give serious consideration in picking a decision, because this is becoming too much of a hassle to come down here, and then it's one thing to be here and the next thing to be late. And it's not part of a Muslim to be late in something, especially where it comes to Allah's call. But then there's things that are beyond your control, and I think the situation is getting way beyond our control now in regards to traffic. Regardless how much effort you make to leave early, to get here early, it becomes problematic, and it's more often than in the past. So I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for you and I, and my sincere apologies, and I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala overlook our shortcomings and help us to get better. Allahumma ameen. Tonight, in a few minutes that I have, I will first remind myself, then you, of something pertinent of this deen, with the hope that inshallah ta'ala, with Allah's mercy and guidance and wishes, He will help us all to get closer to Him. Because that is the obvious goal, why Muslims were placed and why we were blessed with Iman, so that we may accomplish good in this world and good in the Akhirah. With that being said, and our situation now, and we can't be very oblivious to our reality and try to ignore situation. Now it's time that we all need to wake up and try to be a little more serious in regards to our deen, and to try to understand our deen a little more. Understand our deen a little more in every facet that is required to make our existence better. We can no longer live on this reality that we were good in the past and we have problems now. Problems are always there. Problems are there because we would like to have them around, and because we would like to entertain them. But if we don't entertain problems, they don't stick around. And that's the reality. The only way as Muslims that we can get rid of our problems is that we have to stick to what Allah and His Rasul say, and leave everything in Allah's hands, and hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy will circumvent everything. Tonight, inshallah ta'ala, I would like to reflect on the life of a Sahaba. And it is always good to reflect on those human beings that lived with the Prophet ﷺ, so as to awaken our reality and awaken our consciousness. Because today we have too many excuses why we can't be upright. We blame the dunya. There's nothing wrong with the dunya. We blame time. There's nothing wrong with time. We blame attitude. There's nothing wrong with attitude. Who corrects attitude is us. Who establishes attitude is us. It's not our surrounding. So brothers and sisters, to be very, very blunt, our problems are ours. And the Rasul with his companions, they lived an example and demonstrated to us in every facet of life that you can think of, an example to make it easy. His companions, when they accepted the deen, they were not looking for worldly glory, and they were not looking for favors of the dunya, and they were not looking for favors from the institution. They did not come to Islam because Islam had goodness to offer. They came because they gained goodness from Islam. They came because they wanted to be good, and they wanted to be part of something that proliferate goodness. The companions, regardless if they were rich or poor, they all had the same attitude, or most of them had the same attitude towards the Rasul ﷺ that they lived with. There was a particular Sahaba, after the Battle of Badr, when the Quraysh returned to Makkah, they were sour about what happened to them, because they were defeated in the Battle of Badr, and they realized that this man that they were fighting for so many years is gaining grounds, and he's gaining heights in everything. Instead of his religion dying or what he's preaching dying, it's becoming more and more popular. And the more we increase our intensity against him, the more the people are turning towards him. So in order to show that they are still dominant in their ignorance, and they are still the people of authority around, and they still have influence, they were trying to get back at the Muslims. And in this particular case, they captured a Muslim by the name of Khubayb ibn Adi, and they planned a public execution in retaliation to their loss. in the Battle of Badr, and to demonstrate to the world that we are mighty and we're still in control and we can still overcome the Muslims. So they invited thousands of people from the Quraysh and neighboring tribes to meet in a place called Tanim. We are so confused about Deen today that most people, when they go to Makkah, they go to Tanim and use it as a miqat to go and perform Umrah. The Prophet ﷺ demonstrated to us, and he said there's only 5 miqats in the world. Masjid al-Tanim is not a miqat, but some of us follow our scholars and some of us follow our whims and fancies, and we go with one entry into Makkah, and we want to go do multiple Umrahs, and that is not confirmed. Anyways, that's beside the point right now. But it is in that particular area that they invited the public to come and witness the execution of Khubayb ibn Adi, because his only sin was that he's a Muslim and he chooses to practice Islam and follow Muhammad. That was his only sin in their eyes. So they gathered the people, and there was this mushrik by the name of Sa'id ibn Amir. So he was very young, and he decided to respond to the invitation of the Quraysh. And as he gathered with the rest of them in Tanim, he tried to make his way through the crowd to the front so he can be in the front observing what's happening. And the leaders of the Quraysh, like Abu Sufyan ibn Harb and Safwan ibn Umayyah, big leaders from the Mushrikeen. So they were there, and they were encouraging the people to gather closer and to get to witness the execution. So in all of this, Khubayb requested from them, he said, I only need to pray 2 rak'ah, salah. I don't want anything else. So they said, go ahead and pray. Although they're killing him because he's a Muslim, they allowed him to pray. So Sa'id ibn Amr said, I looked at Khubayb in his eyes and he was very calm. When he finished praying, he looked at the Quraysh and he said, if you think I prayed out of fear of death here, then the salah is worthless. It is useless to me. And I'm not about that. So they started to shout to kill him, to kill him. And while he's alive, they started to dismember his body, to spear him and to chop him, and he was still alive. So they asked him, would you like Muhammad to be in your place now? And he said, I would not like to be safe and secure with my family in my place, and a thorn is to hurt Muhammad. So when they heard that, that ignited them a little more, so they said to kill him. They started to shout, like when you have the public sentiment, in ignorance they get excited. So they speared him and they killed him. And then before he died, he said, my Lord, punish them and spare no one. That was his dua before he died. So Sa'id ibn Amr is looking at this, and he left. And he was very young and he was confused. But in the interim, when he left, a couple of days after, the lives of the Quraysh went back normal. People forget who Khubayb ibn Adi was, and everything is normal. We're still thinking about the Muslims, and we're still trying to figure out how we can conquer the Muslims. So in the meanwhile, Sa'id ibn Amr started to reflect, and he would get flashback of what he witnessed. Then he said, faith and conviction demands a struggle. So this man had to have faith, and he was convinced that he's going somewhere, and he made the sacrifice that was a demand on him at the time. He did not give up his faith and show signs of weakness. He showed signs of strength, and he showed faith. So then he said, the next thing he thought about, he said, if a man can so calmly give up his life in defense of his faith and the prophet that they are trying to eliminate, then that prophet have to be the truth. Because this man gave his life without any form of retaliation. So he decided to go back to the Quraysh, and he announced to them publicly. Remember, he witnessed this publicly because they were sure that they have might against Islam. So he stood up in the midst of the Quraysh and he said, I denounce your sins. And I have given up your idols, and now I'm turning to Muhammad and I'm migrating to Muhammad. So he left. And he informed them publicly. He didn't make it a secret. And he told them in no uncertain terms that they are sinners, because they're killing people wrongfully just because they believe. So he went to Medina, he lived with the Prophet ﷺ, and he took part in the Battle of Khaybar with the Rasul ﷺ. He lived under the Caliphate of Abu Bakr and Umar. Then he came to Umar because they knew him as a man who was honest and he was very righteous. So he came to Umar ibn Khattab one day and he said, I would like to let you know, and I would like to remind you that you should deal with the people, fear Allah in dealing with the people, and do not fear the people in dealing with Allah. There is a difference here. Fear Allah in dealing with the people to give them their rights, but do not allow the fear of people to interfere with your relationship with Allah. Whenever you make a decision, do not make two decisions. Do not give one decision here to appease and to please one set of people, and on the other side you say something differently to appease and please them here. Because that will cause discord in your people and it will cause them to disregard your position. So you can't have two positions with the same situation. He said also, in treating people, like for them what you like for your family. Dislike for them what you dislike for your family. And anytime anyone criticizes you in matters that Allah prescribed, ignore their criticism. Listen to this carefully. Anytime anyone criticizes you in matters that Allah prescribed, ignore them. Not ignore Allah and please the people. So Umar ibn Khattab said, well, who you think can implement these things you're talking about? So he said, you, who Allah put in place as the Khalifa over the Muslims and the Rasul, alayhi salatu wasalam. So Umar ibn Khattab said, okay. He left him and he went. Later on, the city of Hims was in need of a governor. Hims is a city in Syria. That is a city Bashar al-Assad bombed one night and killed 70,000 Muslims. Up to today, that city is still known as a city that upholds Quran and Sunnah. In the midst of most of the Arabs and the people surrounding who practice Sufism, who are Shias, who have their mazhab. And we should not be afraid to say these things because that is the reality. And if you're not with Allah and His Rasul, then something needs to be done so that you can correct your ways. Only Allah and His Rasul is the source of correctness. So, when the governor of Hims was supposed to be put in place, Umar ibn Khattab thought of Sa'id ibn Amir and he sent for him. He said, I have a position for you. I would like to make you the governor of Hims. So Sa'id ibn Amir said, what's wrong with you? I'm not interested in that. And that is the problem the Muslims have today. Those who know what is right and those who are claiming that they're close to Allah and they're practicing Quran and Sunnah, they don't want anything to do with the world and they don't want to assume leadership in the masjid. They don't want to assume leadership with the Muslims. So who will lead the Muslims to righteousness if the people who know what is right are not willing to assume leadership? Then who you think will lead? Answer me. If the people who know what is right, the people who have the knowledge to do what is right, is reluctant to take up leadership, who will? It's very obvious. The people who are corrupt will lead. The people who love power will lead. And that is one of the biggest problems with Muslims today. So Umar ibn Khattab said, what are you talking about? You are reminding me and you're expecting me to do good and you're expecting me to uphold the standards and you're not willing to help to establish the standards or maintain the standards. That is double standard. So you expect me to keep goodness in place so that you can be benefiting from and people can benefit from, but you're not willing to do anything to help. So then he conceded and he said that makes sense. So he assumed the leadership of the governorship of Hims on behalf of the Khalifa. So he went to Hims and he was the governor there. So Hims at that time was known as Little Kufa. In Kufa, the people always complaining about everything. So there were complaints coming all the time. So when the people of Hims started to complain a little bit about Sa'id ibn Amir, that he's this, he's that, whatever it is, they went to Umar ibn Khattab and they were complaining about him. So Umar ibn Khattab said, okay, in the interim what you can do, make up a list of all the people that you know of that are deserving of zakah and I will come to visit. So they made up their list and they give it to Umar ibn Khattab to prepare the zakah from Baytul Mal to distribute to the people of Hims. So when Umar al-Khattab looked at the list, the first name he saw was Sa'id ibn Amir. He said, isn't this the man, your governor, you're complaining about? They said, yeah, but they said, how you have him? He said, how you have him as one who is eligible to receive zakat? They said, yeah, he's the poorest of the poor amongst us and he needs zakat. He's eligible. So Umar al-Khattab said, okay. He put some money from the Baitul Mal in a bag and he said, give this to him and tell him I send it for him. So they went back to Syria, to him, knowing that Umar ibn Khattab is coming. So they went to him and they give him the money. So he started to make noise. So his wife was not in his presence. So he started to talk to the person who brought the bag with the money. He said, what are you doing? So his wife was asking from behind, what happened? Did the Khalifa die? He said, no, worse than that. He said, what happened? Were the Muslims defeated in a battle? He said, no. She said, they sent something here to take away your akhirah by replacing it with the dunya. So she said, well, get rid of it, if that is the case. So he asked her to help him distribute the 1,000 dirham. So he distributed the money. Umar ibn Khattab came to him, and this, brothers and sisters, the idea of all of this is that our deen is special. Our deen is not frivolous. And our deen is not at the dictates of those who don't know. Our deen is at the dictates of Allah. And look how you resolve problems with leadership and people. The people who are governing and the people who are governing. So Umar ibn Khattab didn't listen to them and he didn't listen to him, his governor. He brought them in a public place and he said, discuss your problem with your leader now. So Umar ibn Khattab brought Sa'id ibn Amir and he brought the people. Before he convened, he said, this is this issue, they have some issues with you, so state your issues. So the people, the crowds said, yes, this man here, regardless of what you do, he will never come out to us until after the sun rises. So Sa'id ibn Amir said, Umar ibn Khattab said, well, answer. These are the people you're governing and this is an issue they have. But he said, I don't want to answer because that is something personal. So he was reluctant. But because it's public affairs, there's no secret between. So he said, I don't have a maid and I don't have anybody to help. And his wife her vision was not too good. And it is the same people that told Umar ibn Khattab that for days they don't have a fire in his house. So he said, whatever little I have to prepare to leave for my family for the day, I do that before sunrise. So every day I make this preparation and leave their provisions with Allah's mercy for them. Then I come out after sunrise to the public. So they said, that's okay. So Umar ibn Khattab said, what other problems you have with him? They said, well, one day a month this man would never come out to us, regardless what we do. There's one day he would isolate himself completely from us. So Sa'id ibn Amr said, look, this is not something I want to discuss. But again, because it's public affairs, there is no secret between you and your government. If you choose that position, then this is the territory that comes with it. So he said, this garment that I have on is the only garment that I possess. So once a month, I make sure it's properly washed. I have to wait until it's dry so I can assume it again. So I can't come out without clothing. So they were very happy to hear that. So when they continue, they said, this man don't come out at night, period. If you go knocking at his door, he don't come out. So Sa'id ibn Amr said, Allah created the night for worship and the day for the dunya. So that is my position. I worship my Lord at night and the day I serve Him. So then they said that there's a fourth problem. That sometimes he experiences unconsciousness in the middle of meeting. So then he told Umar bin Khattab that I saw the public execution and the dismembering of Khubayb ibn Ali's body and I was helpless and I was too weak to do anything to help him. So when I remember that, I get flashback of that, I faint. So they understood his situation and Umar bin Khattab left some money for him and a piece of gold. I'm not saying that we give up the dunya completely, But at the same time, we should not drown ourselves in the dunya, forgetting that we're working for the akhirah. And I'm not saying, because Islam doesn't tell us this, that we sink the dunya and just pursue the akhirah. As Muslims, we believe that to earn places in the akhirah, we have to utilize that which Allah blesses us with in the dunya. Because that was the most frequent dua of the Prophet ﷺ. رَبَّنَا أَتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. Our Lord grant us good in this dunya and good in the akhirah, and save us from the punishment of the fire. So we have to strike a balance. And if we don't have knowledge of our situation, we would never be able to conduct ourselves right. There would always be an excuse. Everything would be a problem. So problems are there to distract us. Problems are not there to help us. And we have to learn to eliminate problems. Not everything is a problem. You and I don't have control over a situation. My situation here coming tonight, it's not a problem. It's a stressful situation, but hey, it's a problem that we have to try and deal with. So we should not allow situations to bog us down to such an extent that we forget Allah. Sa'id ibn Amir had problems, but he didn't allow that to affect his relationship with Allah. So regardless what our situations are, regardless what our circumstances are, we have to remember that Allah is the master controller of everything. And Allah is the one who drives everything for us. And if we forget Allah, Allah will definitely forget us. If we keep remembering Allah and keep Allah in place, Allah will keep us in check. Brothers and sisters, I don't mean to be rude and disrespectful, but I think personally, and this is my personal opinion, and I may be wrong, and you may have a different opinion in regards to this. This masjid, when Allah and His Rasul is being discussed, if you want to bring your children to play, bring them during the day. If you want them to come, you think the masjid is a safe haven for them to play, bring them during the day and let them play all day. But don't have them here playing when Allah and His Rasul is being discussed. They're supposed to be learning about that now. And if the masjid is hosting a session to do that, then everyone who is on these premises should be here attending to that. And after we leave, then you can play. Or after it's finished, then that is how the business is conducted. The Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, anytime he was in the midst, go and read the seerah. You do not find companions and their families doing something else or having a second agenda. You know why? They don't want the young minds to think that there are two different roles here. There's only one role here, and that is to get closer to Allah. And the administration of this masjid need to do something formal in regards to this. If not, give up your seats. And let those who can administer and do it properly. I am coming to the conclusion because I love my deen just like you love your deen. I love my Rasul just like how you love your Rasul. I love Allah. I want to go to Jannah. I'm struggling. And I'm pretty sure you would like to go to Jannah too. But I can't, as a Muslim, tolerate disrespect to Allah and His Rasul. That's the bottom line. And if I'm thinking seriously, if I'm going to make all this happen, I know it, brother, I'm no special person and I'm no special individual. I'm worse than you are. Trust me. In ways and means, I'm probably worse than you are. But the reality remains that I'm still a Muslim. And I should be concerned about Allah's deen. We are being killed and we're being slaughtered all over the place. And this is not a place to come and establish the wrong example. This is a place to come and do the right thing. And for us who want the right thing, this is the place. And here is where it starts. I would like you to come on Sundays and see when the pastor is preaching in his service over there, how many kids are playing outside. I would like all of us to come and witness when there are services in that church next door and the pastor is on the pulpit, how many people are playing outside. Try that. And then we would know where we are. Sorry to take up 5 minutes of your time.